Welcome to Ahead of the Spread, the Closing Line Values weekly show where we talk everything sports and sports betting. I'm Tacoma Blend. With me, special guest here, as always, Yes Way Jose, big Houston Cougars guy.
Oh,
They let him down and he's big
oh,
mad.
oh, I'm not mad. I'm just completely heartbroken.
I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
I'm just, yeah, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. But honestly, I'm also not surprised. Like as much as my hopes and dreams were tied to the Houston Cougars, if you're being realistic, you had to see that the signs were there that it wasn't going to be this year. Um, I think I talked myself into it a few times over the last few weeks. But the signs were there.
Yeah.
They were who we thought they were.
Yeah, I did not. I could never get a great read on that team. I just anytime I'd go to bet them, it was bounce back games after losing during that 3 game stretch. Bet them against I think Tennessee in the before conference season. Just could not get it going. Kings and Fleming started playing really well, and thought, okay, they're back, and then finally, like, thank God I wasn't in Vegas for the Sweet 16 because started off like that was the one losing day is that Thursday and Friday days where we didn't have a winning day. But Houston thought for sure they were gonna roll, and the Illini just punched them in the mouth and kept going, man.
Do you think? I mean,
Crazy.
I'm assuming that we're just going to roll into the conversation about the weekend. Because my question for you is, do you think that that game says more about Houston, or do you think it says more about Illinois?
Great question. I mean, at the end of the day, this is such a hard. I mean, this is like the one of the hardest tournament. I mean, sporting events that to win. Like you just, it's pretty grueling. Duke has had arguably the most talented team, and they have a great coach, and they haven't won it under Shire. They haven't won it in a long time. So it's like you got to have luck, and you got to have skill, and you got to be playing great at the same time. I mean, there's so much going on. So I personally think, I thought Houston was going to stumble this season. I thought they weren't going to be that top, 3 or 4 seed team. I thought they're going to be, 5 seed, 6 seed range at the start of the season. And they just picked up where they left off. They played great. I think that Samson's got that team rolling, and I think the money's rolling in, donor money's rolling in. I think they're okay. I think they're set up for success there. But the Illini have, had some very questionable stinkers that they've laid, throughout the tournaments, in previous seasons under Brad Underwood. And this is one of the years that they didn't. They're actually rolling better. Granted, Colin Boswell's back, but also they just look smoother. When Wagler's on, Mirkovic is on, as opposed to one or the other. They just look better. I think the Illini look really, really good. Didn't think that if they happened to play Michigan or Zona in the final, I initially was like, "There's no chance." I've softened that stance. I think the Illini's for real. I think they're they're a really good team. They have some NBA players on that team.
Yeah, yeah. I think just going back to Houston really quick. I think I just wanted it so badly for Kelvin Sampson. I think it would be um, sad for that guy to eventually retire and not have a
Yeah,
national championship because he was oh so close last year, um, and
yeah.
I thought they were positioned to do it again this year. So we'll see what he comes back with, but I'm I'm on the fence about Illinois. I'm not sure that I'm ready
Okay.
to jump on that bandwagon. I can because we transition the conversation, not necessarily yet, but once we transition the conversation to Illinois UConn, um, I think I've got to take my UConn Dan Hurley hat off and try to be a little bit more objective because um, man do I find rooting for UConn hard, and
Yeah.
they kind of I kind of found myself rooting for them a little bit. I mean, playing against Duke will do that for you.
Yeah.
So I did find myself uh, rooting for UConn a little bit. But I'm not sure. In this moment right now, you'd have to put a gun to my head in order for me to pick that game because I am not sure. Um,
Sure.
my heart says one thing, but my head says another. So, but I think we'll get to our final four picks in a moment. We should probably dissect this last weekend a little bit more before we get to that.
Okay, that sounds great. Yeah, I'll kind of jump in on some of the Sweet 16. A lot of some of the obvious, Michigan rolling and, uh, one, I don't want to make this just a constant Michigan State thing, but like seeing them woefully unprepared. UConn's good, make no mistake, but like to come out losing like 20 to like 6 to start the game, like coaches look lost, like Izzo looked lost. The players dribbling it off their feet just uh, was the most deflating thing. I can accept losing to a good UConn team, but just it was really deflating. They came back. They came back and had the lead, only for them to lose. But I would say the other main takeaway from Iowa, like what a run that they went on. I mean, you know, Ben McCollum is a good coach, clearly, and uh, we'll see what he can do in year two. Iowa, I have to imagine the donors and the money starts rolling in on Iowa basketball because uh, year one they beat the defending champs. They beat a solid but not great Clemson team, and then they beat their rivals Nebraska. I mean, just
Yeah.
what a season! Like I mean, it kind of sucks that they had a path that came across two Big Ten teams because, yeah, Big Ten was rolling for a bit. So what's your big what did you come away with the Sweet 16 and Elite Eight games?
Um, Purdue is who we thought Purdue was. Even though preseason I had picked Purdue to make it to the national championship game. Um, I think we saw throughout the season that they were just too inconsistent and not trustworthy. They did have that amazing buzzer beater, not buzzer beater, but last minute win against little old upstart University of Texas. So I mean that was fun. But then
Yeah,
then they got to playing the big boys and didn't have what it takes. So um, Purdue is who I kind of thought they were going to be. I'm not surprised they went as far as they did, but also not surprised that they flamed out because that just kind of feels like their season in
yeah.
a nutshell. A little surprised that Arkansas didn't put up more of a fight against Bama. I think you and I were even chatting about that over text, and there was a feeling that Arkansas was going to give um, Arizona a fight, and they just laid down and had no. It just felt like they had no shot that entire game. So I was a little bit surprised by that. Did not see Tennessee's run coming out of anywhere, um, but not also when you sit back and think about it, probably not as surprised as I should be about that. I think part of that is just feeling like the SEC was not the strong conference that it was last year, so maybe underestimating some of these SEC teams a little bit. But Rick Barnes is going to have his teams ready to play, and not surprised that they had the run that they did. Not surprised that they hit the buzzsaw of Michigan and uh,
Yeah.
lost
Jeez.
there. So um, that's kind of how I sum up the last
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah. I think the Cyclones, just to kind of put a bow on that, like the Iowa State Cyclones, like they've were another team that just they don't typically find their footing in the tournament. Like they cruise in Ames, but they struggle on the road, neutral court, or not struggle, but not as good, not as prolific. Uh, but this year, Iowa State was cruising in that first game against the 15 seed team that's escaping me at this moment. Directional Tennessee, I think. Anyway,
Tennessee State.
they Tennessee State close. Okay, that's close.
You're in the
So
ballpark.
uh, but they but their best player going down, we saw what that happened, what that did to BYU. Like it just
Texas Tech.
it's total. Yeah, yeah, we saw what happened with Texas Tech. Like it just totally changes the complexion of that team. But I really think Jefferson Momcilovic combination would have been super fun to see. I think they get it done against a Tennessee team, even though Tennessee looked really good. I think Jefferson is the X factor in that, and while they didn't really stand a chance, I think that it doesn't get that blown out if they have him. So, but yeah,
Yeah,
overall, like pretty, yeah,
I was just gonna say Michigan. There's no way Michigan wasn't gonna come out of that region. Like that's just not. And the rest of it is
yeah,
all banter. It was gonna be Michigan
yeah.
all along.
I mean, we've been talking about it for quite a while. I've got, the only other future I think that other than the Wisconsin one that I put, uh, the only major one was Michigan, and early in the season, seeing them thought, oh wow, you guys are struggling against Wake Forest. Wake Forest finished near the bottom of the ACC, only for them a week later to go to the Players Era tournament and destroy. And so my expectation changed a little bit, but I still said to you, and you called me a hater, and maybe you're sort of justified, but I think that there's a history of this. They come back to the Big Ten, and their style doesn't necessarily translate to the Big Ten. It did. They crushed. I get that. But once it started crushing, and once they started dominating, that's when, from a betting perspective, went all in on them winning, and betting with my wallet, not my heart, hose. You know what I mean? So
Hey man, that's why I don't bet on sports because I bet with my heart and my heart lets me down all the time. I mean,
well,
Michigan,
why don't you get your
Michigan.
wallet in there?
I do believe I put my wallet on the table a couple times with you this tournament and didn't, or at least in the conference tournaments and didn't play out
Yeah.
very well for me on that. Looking at you, Miami of Ohio. Um,
Yeah.
I it it's Michigan's kind of done the full circle thing where they had that
Yeah.
players era. We're just blowing teams out like nobody's business, and in the last two rounds, what did Michigan do? Blew teams out like nobody's business. So I think Michigan is kind of who we thought they were.
So, yeah, I'm with you on this. We're there, and one thing that's kind of related to this, but sort of slightly tangential is tangential. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyways, is I wish they would reseed actually for the Final Four. And this is very specific to this year, I would say, but
I was
I
gonna
should
say
go
I've
back and see
never
if
heard you say that before.
the
So
re the hear me out. The reason being is Arizona and U of M should be the national title game. There might be an upset, like Illinois could beat either of those teams, possibly. UConn could beat either of
I,
those teams,
yeah,
obviously. But they're the two absolute wagons. Illinois and UConn are the susceptible teams. UConn, blew a 19. They let Michigan State go on a 16-0 run. Okay, they got down by 19 to Duke and came back. They're susceptible, right? Like there's flaws. Every team's flawed. They're more flawed than Arizona, more flawed than Michigan. Illinois, as we've seen, similarly slow first halves. They barely got ahead of Yale. No, who'd they play? What was the Ivy League team they played? Penn. They played Penn.
10.
Barely got ahead of Penn before blowing them out in the second half. So
Yeah.
I just I think it would be I think a Arizona Michigan national title game would be so good. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, it is giving Seahawks and Rams being the true Super Bowl this
Yeah.
season over
Oh,
Seahawks and
exactly.
Patriots, but you can't reseed that because it's
I know.
conference against
I
conference.
know.
So, um, yeah, I don't. That doesn't really. I don't. Meh, whatever. Like if they reseeded, yeah, whatever. I mean,
I'm
this goes away if Duke, if Caden Boozer doesn't boneheaded try to, you know,
Yeah, for sure.
whatever he tried to do there. Um, and Duke's in the national and Duke's in the Final Four. Like we're not having that conversation. I just think it's sometimes the cookie crumbles a certain way, and this is the way the cookie has crumbled. I maybe now's the time to talk about that UConn Duke game because I think I have a newfound respect for UConn, and I think if unfortunately, I don't have any receipts to back this up, but I did say multiple times before the season and in the early days of this basketball season that the reason I wasn't high on Duke was because of their youth. And I think that
Mm,
what we saw in that game against UConn was Duke's youth and inexperience in big moments like that biting them in the ass. And I think what UConn has going in its favor is this is now three Final Fours in 4 years, and they they know how to be in these moments. And I think those young guys on Duke just don't because they just haven't been there. And so I think UConn can't be discounted because they know what they're doing, because
yeah.
they've been there before. So I'm just not I just cannot discount or set aside UConn as much as my heart wants to root against them. I don't know that I can root against UConn at this stage necessarily. Um,
Yeah, I get you. I, in a different way, I was more concerned. I had also, um, bet against Duke multiple times. Another team that we didn't quite nail in terms of late season betting. But they, excuse me, one of the you know bugaboos that is now an official thing for Shire is the fact that closing out games, I mean, was
and at
it
what
so
point does
Texas Tech this
at what
year?
point does that turn into a
Yeah,
self-fulfilling prophecy too, right? Like now you're the guy in the team that can go to the Final Four, but's gonna lose in a heartbreaker in the Final Four.
I yeah, dude. Like I think sports betting community, like the sports betting Twitter especially, has been talking about it for a stretch where it's like, yeah, they went big up on UNC, live bet UNC, even sprinkle on the money line. You never know. Sure enough, came back big winnings there. Um, and like I said, Texas Tech, they had a decent lead on them in a neutral court game earlier this year, faded. Last season in the tournament was it Houston or NC State a couple years ago too. Like they have fallen apart. And excuse me, I know that we've talked. You and I both came to the conclusion independently where we're like, wait a minute, is this Duke team actually like the coaches and the players? Are they not like the hateable people that they typically, you know, that they typically are? Like during the Coach K years, like everyone, most people hated Duke. It's like, you know, fuck Duke. Like, but
Yeah.
Shire, like John Shire, it's like, man, I actually kind of like this dude. And like, he's like, the behind the scenes of him coaching is pretty great. And the players aren't as hateable either. So I feel a little bit bad, but still not that bad. I still root against Duke almost all the time.
Yeah, it's hard to root for Duke even if some of these guys aren't as hateable as they were. But I just it kind of gives me a little bit of Kentucky vibes too. In that you're building a program that's dependent on guys who are going to come in 1 year, and then you're going to start over the next year with a whole new crop of players, and you
Yeah.
don't you don't it's just hard to get that consistency going, and it's hard to take advantage of experience and having been there before when your guys aren't doing that. The boozers are going to be gone after this year, right? So you're going to have to rebuild a team next year, and they'll probably do a good job because it's Duke and they got money to spend, but you're kind of missing out on
Yeah.
like building an actual program,
Yeah.
which on the other side of the coin is what UConn has done. Like UConn has a culture of winning.
Yeah, I don't. It's crazy how much they you know they're getting it done under Hurley, and like I told you, I'm like maybe he's not as big of an asshole as I thought, and then I finally saw the clip of him headbutting a ref, and I'm like, Jesus, this guy. Like he could have easily, like he really should have. I mean, not in the spirit of the game, and like the last possession, you don't call a foul, kind of unspoken rule, but you made contact with a
I don't
referee.
know. I
That
don't
is,
know. I read that
oh,
as more of a buddy type moment than it was a he's being aggressive towards a ref moment. I just like I mean
I think you're right.
just like you can't call UConn for storming on UConn players for jumping up and getting on the floor in a moment where they're crazy excited and nobody is a bigger fucking Dan Hurley hater than I am. I can't stand that guy's antics 99% of the time, but I'm gonna give him a pass on this one. They just, I mean, we cannot overstate the miracle that was that play and that
Oh
comeback.
God,
That that
what a
that that finish to that game. I mean, that was a once in a lifetime. We're gonna be talking about that moment for years to come. Like that doesn't happen. Um,
yeah.
so to me, it's the same thing as the players running onto the court there. I do love the clip of the Duke radio broadcast immediately going
Oh
to
yeah.
the players running onto the court, uh, complaining about there not being a whistle on that because that's that's just ironic because that's the thing about Duke. But yeah, I I'm if I can start to transition this conversation to looking ahead,
Yeah.
my heart wants to pick Illinois, but my head says it's UConn, and I think UConn showed me why in coming back from being 15 down at halftime and winning that game the way that they did. There is just no quit in that team because they know they have what it takes to come back. And I think that is an intangible thing that um, is super important at this point in the tournament. And I think for that
Yeah.
reason alone, it's hard for me to pick against UConn against Illinois.
I want, a part of me wants UConn to advance just because Michigan State lost to them. Makes me feel a little bit better for getting, uh, you know, just
A little copium there for you.
I need it, man. Like, oh, dude, I was numb. Hello, darkness, my old friend, for a little
I
stretch.
mean, just like Purdue was the team that we ultimately thought they were. Are you really that surprised that Michigan State
If
fizzled
they
out the way that
lost to
Michigan State did?
Duke,
They showed us.
if they
They
lost
showed
to
us so
Duke,
many times throughout the season that they weren't the team that we
UConn
thought they were.
2.5 weeks ago lost at home to Marquette, a bottom 100 or bottom, like, I mean, they were
Yeah.
terrible. Like UConn sucked like for the longest time. Like I just they're flipping the switch. So on the flip side, I don't usually do the Big Ten Brethren stuff, but when we were in Vegas watching the games at Paris Sportsbook, a big Illini fan that we were with, that Mikey V and I were with, it was just awesome vibes. So I just was going to be rooting against UConn regardless. I actually think Illinois is the better team. I think Illinois does win, and I think they advance. I think that they win pretty handily. I think this is one that they can't outrun. I don't think this is the UConn team that can catch up when they're behind on this Illinois team. Illinois only gets better in the second half, so they'll be playing from behind. Illini roll. We
If
got
if
five more
if
minutes.
if,
What? Okay.
If Illinois plays defense like they played against Houston, and they can,
Yeah.
they're probably not going to get the volume of threes that they survive on. So they've got to hit the threes that they do take. And if they can play defense close to how they played against Houston, then I think Illinois got a shot. But I'm going to take UConn's recent history of knowing how to handle these moments and knowing how to win in the tournament, which I think is a very specific thing. I'm going to take UConn on this one.
That sounds something. That's some contrarian Jose. Have we officially changed it yet? I feel like you need to change your handle.
Oh, okay.
So
Let's just
okay,
sit here and agree the whole fucking time, Todd. Let's just. Why
I
don't we just
oh
sit here and jerk each other off for half an hour? Do you think people want to watch that?
yeah, they do. There's the ones that are subscribed to our OnlyFans account, Jose. That's actually doing a little bit better than our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe, and go on OnlyFans. Look for us there. You'll see us if you want. All right, let's flip to the other side of the bracket. We've got a couple more minutes left, and it's Michigan, Arizona. I'm gonna lead off. Going into this game, I thought, how can you watch Michigan and say that they're not going to dominate every game from here on out. We've seen it though; they have some lapses. I still think they're a crazy second half team, um, but so many respected bettors are in on Arizona. Surprises me. I thought the line would be 3.5. It's 1.5. Um, I still think Michigan wins. I still think they get it done. But Koa Pete versus Yax is going to be nuts.
Okay, time out,
You know,
time out. So you're right now telling me that you've got a Big Ten national championship game. That's what you're
I
telling me
have a
right now.
Big Ten. I
All
have a
right.
Big Ten
Okay.
national championship.
Okay. Just want to say
But
that's not a
I
that in
can't
no
help
way
it that
is that
there's.
is that in no way is that a hit to your credibility at all.
I mean, they've been dominant this whole tournament. I don't know what to tell you. There's two of them in the final four, so that's 50%. I just did the math just now. I have a graphing calculator. 50%.
Wow.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
got a degree from Michigan State and you knew how to figure that out. I am impressed.
Okay. No credit. Oh, I'm getting roasted in the chat. No credibility. Damn. It's true. It's true.
I mean,
I
for what it's
mean,
worth, I think Michigan's. Again, my heart is with Arizona. Lute Olson, the ghost of Lute Olson, notwithstanding, it's just hard for me to pick against Michigan at this stage. I think they've got they got the size advantage. Um, I I just I have a hard time seeing a path for Arizona to win this game.
really?
Yeah, I mean,
I
are they gonna?
mean,
If Arizona's gonna
I
win this
think
game, how are they gonna do it? What has to happen for Arizona to win this game?
I mean, ouch. I mean, Michigan's lost a ton of games, or a ton of wow. Michigan has lost their games by shooting poorly behind the perimeter. So,
Uh,
good interior defense, which they do kind of have, and forcing Michigan to take bad shots, which they have some NBA talent and some guys that like to take some threes. They start missing those threes. Arizona transition D. I'm with you. I think Michigan wins pretty handily, but I think the best bet for this, with a couple minutes remaining, is I would say Arizona first half, Michigan second half. I think that's a good, value bet because Michigan has a tendency to let some teams, at least credible teams, in a dogfight early on, only to flip that switch in the second half. So I think that's my you know juiced up wager for that game.
and then who do you have in your All Big Ten in a world where the Big Ten is the only conference
Oh,
that exists? Who do you have winning the Natty? I'm assuming that you've got Michigan winning the Natty.
I mean that's yeah. Like I just think I know it's kind of like feels like the no brainer pick, but I mean I did just say that Arizona Michigan should be the national title game,
Yeah,
and
I
for
think yeah.
reasons. I think Arizona beats Illinois, and I think Arizona beats UConn. That's why I was saying Arizona Michigan should be the final. But yeah, I got Michigan winning it all. But we might be surprised in either of these games. I would not be shocked if it's UConn Zona. Like that wouldn't be crazy at all. So, but we'll see. I think if Michigan's playing their best, they beat any of these three teams at their best. So yeah, we'll see.
At this stage I've got Michigan winning it all over UConn in the national championship. UConn's going to put up a fight, but Michigan's going to pull away late, and that's going to be all she wrote. That's it. And then we can
That's it.
start
All
talking
right.
about baseball. When can we talk about
Baseball.
baseball, TV? When are you
Well,
going to
good
take the
news.
muzzle off?
Good
let's
news
talk
is
about
there's
baseball.
856 games a year for baseball, so we'll have plenty of time to do it. I mean, they should actually extend the season, make it year round. Schools did it. Why can't baseball? Let's just get baseball every day, overnight. Who knows? Like let's get more.
Sign me
Listen,
up.
let's just have
Sign me up.
a couple months of some college basketball. Let me process this. We got baseball coming up next week. You know it. It's gonna be great,
Hashtag free
Jose.
Jose. That's my new. Can we make that my new handle? Hashtag free Jose
Uh,
to talk about
hashtag free
free Jose to talk
free
about baseball.
contrarian, free contrarian Jose. Okay. Um, yeah, we'll free you. I don't know. Is the world ready? Is the world ready for you to be freed?
I think so. I think so.
I think so too.
I think the
I don't
world.
know.
I think the people want it. I think the people are begging for it. Let's give the people what they
The
want, guys.
chat. Yeah, there's one specific guy in the chat that's maybe I don't
I
know.
can
He,
tell
he
you
might
what
not
the
be fully
I can
ready.
tell you what the people don't want is a Big Ten national championship. So the
I,
national championship
I s-
game and all Big Ten national championship game. The people do not want that. So
I would love that bugaboo to be gone for the Big Ten, but we'll see. All right, my dude. We got. Thank you everyone for who has tuned in to our show. I'm Tacoma Glenn and Yesway Jose with me for another episode of Ahead of the Spread. Tune in next week where Justin from Just Be Golfing will be joining Jose and I, and we'll have some great segments and some picks of the day leading up to next week's episode. So subscribe, follow, join us on OnlyFans, and we'll be hanging out with you. All right, cheers.